Hi. One thing that a lot of people find quite surprising when they start learning Scottish Gaelic is the fact that although there's a word in the language for the, there is no word for a. This surprises people who have learned no language other than English, and it surprises people who have learned other languages. These ideas of articles that they've come across in other languages, it just doesn't work the same in Gaelic. Now, some people will have studied languages that have no articles at all, and it's more common for a language to have either none or both than to have one but not the other. So this is just a brief video to try to show you how that came about and to explain a little bit about what it all means. So first of all, what are articles? It's a word you may have come across at school when learning a foreign language that you never really felt maybe was explained to you. So you might know there are two. We call them the definite article, which is the in English, and the indefinite article, which is a in English. And that's actually enough to be getting along with, because you know what the means and you know what a means. You've been using these all your life. So to know that definite article is just a fancy way of saying the, and indefinite article is a fancy way of saying a, is enough. But if you try to ask someone to define them, to say what these terms really mean, people tend to get tied up in knots. People will say, well, the definite article means a specific one and the indefinite article means not a specific one. But if someone says that to me, what I respond with is, I live in a house. I live in a house, in a street, in a village, in a region, in a country. I live in a specific house, on a specific street, in a specific village, in a specific region of a specific country. So it's not about it being specific or unspecific. No, in fact, when I use the definite article, when I say the house, I'm telling you, you know which house I'm talking about. If I say the car, you know which car I'm talking about. I'm not telling you which car I'm talking about. I'm simply indicating that I believe you know. When I use the indefinite article, when I say a house or a car, I'm saying that either you don't know which one I'm talking about, or it's not important. You don't need to know. You might know, but it isn't important. And so these are words that don't give information in and of themselves. They simply signpost to let you know whether you expect to know which one I'm talking about. And many, many languages across the world don't give you this information. So it's not something that we need. It's just something that's useful and extra. Now, when I was learning Spanish, I finally realised what's wrong with these terms, definite article and indefinite article, because I read them in Spanish, artículo definido, artículo indefinido, and I knew that the word definido meant defined, and indefinido means undefined. So definite and indefinite, to me, those are mistranslations. They are an attempt to literally use the closest thing to the Latin form instead of the thing that means something. When I see definite, as an English speaker, I think certain. But that's not what the Latin, the French, the Italian, the Spanish, it's not what their words mean. It simply means it's defined. Like I said, you know which one I'm talking about. You've got all the information. It's defined the house. And if it's a house, I'm just pointing out that you don't necessarily have all the information to know which one. So, how did these articles come to be? Historically, a long, long time ago, there wasn't an article in languages, and the ancient ancestor of the languages of Europe didn't have these things. They evolved within languages after the languages split, and English provides a very good example of how this happened. Because if we start with the words this and that, these are words that explicitly define which one I'm talking about. This place and that place, this one and that one. And so the sound of this and that became the. You know which one I'm talking about. I don't have to point at this one. I don't have to point at that one. It's just the thing that we're talking about. No pointing, but you know which one I'm talking about. I'm not explicitly defining it, but I'm telling you that it has been defined. So what about the indefinite article a? Well, the number 1 used to be ain. Now in Scotland and some dialects of Lowland Scots, ain is still the word for the number 1. So a house would have been ein hus in some earlier forms of English. Ein hus, ein hus. And you say it quicker and you don't stress the ain, and it became an hus, an hus. So when you think about it at primary school, you were probably told that a becomes an. You add an n when you put it before a vowel. An apple, an otter. But in fact, what really happens is an, historically speaking anyway, an loses its n in front of a consonant, because a, an, is an evolution of the number 1. Now, if you've learned any other Western European language, you should have seen the same thing happen. Because French, un cheval, a horse, un, deux, trois, 1, 2, 3, literally the number 1 is the indefinite article. The same in Spanish, the same in Italian, in German, eins, ein, you can see they've come from the same place. So what about Gaelic then? So, as you might know, Gaelic has a definite article. It's un. But in certain situations it might be a, unt, na, nan, or even am or nam. However, the core form is un. Now, Gaelic could have followed the path of other languages and evolved an indefinite article as well. But how? The Gaelic for 1 is un. And if you say un quickly, well, you're going to say un. And how are you going to tell the difference between the definite article and the indefinite article if they both sound the same? And if they are both the same, then neither carries information. So there would be no point. And if you started saying un for the indefinite article, you'd have to stop saying it for the definite article. So Gaelic, along with its cousins Irish and Manx, finds itself in a very unusual situation where it has evolved a definite article that makes it impossible to evolve an indefinite article. And that's not a problem. As I said earlier, there are plenty of languages that survive with neither. And if you're going to have one, well, it's going to be the definite article. And this is something that appears to happen in the evolution of language anyway, that the definite article comes first, because you want to signpost that something's been defined. And then if you don't signpost it as being defined, then it's undefined. And that's why Gaelic is perfectly fine with just the definite article. Because if I've not defined it, I don't need to add anything in. So I hope that's cleared things up for some of you, and it maybe relieves some of the confusion when you look at this and see how different it is from other languages. Hope to speak to you again soon, but for now, cheery and drasta. Bye for now.